train your Gavin. Read those books in a blink, oh yeah. Grab yourself a hot drink cause you're watching How to Train Your Gavin.
Yep, that's me.
Hi everyone, welcome back to How to Train Your Gavin. So I want to do a sort of if you love this movie, you will love this middle grade kind of video. I do say a lot of if you love this book, you'll love this one. It's usually to do with YA or adult. I haven't really seen very many middle grade versions of this, but I also wanted to take it a step further and do an if you like this movie, you will like this middle grade, because I want as many people to enjoy middle grade as possible. So I think this will be quite helpful for people who don't usually read a lot of middle grade. So if you love one of these movies I mentioned, you might enjoy the book that I mentioned that I think it's quite similar to, just as a foray into middle grade, if it helps at all. It might not, who knows. And so the first film franchise that I want to talk about are based off books, and that is the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit films. Obviously they're based on books by J.R.R. Tolkien. So if you love those books or movies, then you might enjoy the Edge Chronicles by Paul Stewart and Chris Riddell. These are some of my childhood favourites. It's been a long time since I've read them and I can't wait to reread them from the beginning. And so there's actually quite a lot of different books in the series, and there's different trilogies within the series. So yeah, definitely start with the Twig trilogy, which is Beyond the Deep Woods. This was the first published one in 1998, and I'd recommend starting here. This one is very reminiscent of, I would say, The Hobbit more so than The Lord of the Rings. In this one we follow Twig, who was abandoned at birth and is found by wood trolls. So he lives and grows up with these wood trolls, and when he's a bit older he decides to leave home and he goes through the deep woods, but he does what no other wood troll does, and that is straying from the path. And when he strays from the path in these deep woods, there are some monsters and creatures that he comes across. He gets himself into some very sticky situations. He meets a lot of different people, and it's just a fantastic, fantastic adventure. It's also quite reminiscent of Stardust, which is a film based off Stardust by Neil Gaiman. So I think if you enjoy the Lord of the Rings trilogy or the Hobbit trilogy or Stardust, then I think you will really love Beyond the Deep Woods or the Edge Chronicles in general. So if you love Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and the new Jumanji, The Next Level, then you will absolutely love Wonderscape by Jennifer Bell. This is a recent favourite of mine. I can't stop raving about it, but this one is definitely every sort of video gamer's dream. So we follow three kids, Arthur, Ren and Cecily, who are blasted into the future where everything is this in-reality adventure game, and they have to go through different levels to kind of progress in this game and get back home. In each level there is a sort of influential figure who is there to kind of help them, and the worlds are sort of based on them. So we have Isaac Newton in the first world where they are on a ship, and then we also have Mary Shelley later on, and we are in this gothic area, this gothic castle that's based on Frankenstein. So each level is very unique and brilliantly adventurous, and I love it so much. This one is definitely more so like the new Jumanji films rather than the original Robin Williams film. So yeah, that is why I think it would be perfect if you love Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle and Jumanji, The Next Level. You might also love The Gauntlet by Karuna Riazi. This is a recent read of mine and I really enjoyed it. This one is about a girl and her two friends who get trapped in this mechanical board game because she's trying to save her younger brother, and there is this evil architect who they have to defeat. So they have to progress through this mechanical board game. So yeah, definitely Wonderscape and The Gauntlet if you really love the Jumanji movies. So if you really love the Toy Story franchise, so Toy Story 1, 2, 3 and 4. There are quite a few films in that franchise, and I must admit the third one is my favourite. It makes me cry every single time. But if you love those Toy Story movies, then I think you will love The Land of Never Endings by Kate Saunders. This one follows a girl called Emily who recently lost her sister, and her sister used to tell Emily of this almost make-believe land called Smockaroon, and Emily finds herself transported there and she can't believe it's real because obviously she thought her sister was making it up. So this is a beautiful story that explores grief and, you know, sort of escape into the imagination. And there are talking real-life toys in The Land of Never Endings, because The Land of Never Endings is a world where kids and their toys go after leaving this world. So with Toy Story and Pixar in general, bringing these fantastical stories out but having this hard-hitting message behind them, sort of like Toy Story has how kids grow up and leave their toys behind. This one is sort of when we go into the next life and taking our toys with us. Pixar movies can be very whimsical and magical and wonderful, but there's always something to cry about during it. So we have Up, which, I mean, the first 10 minutes will have you bawling. So if you love Toy Story, I think you might enjoy this one. If you love the Star Wars franchise, and there are a lot of Star Wars movies, I will not name them, and I can't really name them that well because I've never really watched a full one all the way through before. I think you will love Orion Lost by Alistair Chisholm. This is a fantastic middle grade sci-fi. This one follows a colony of humans on a spaceship, and they are leaving Earth. They are 3 months away from Earth. Every now and then they have to do this jump. So it's the spaceship transporting itself very quickly at one time. But during these jumps, everybody needs to be put to sleep. During one of these jumps, they are attacked, and all the adults can't seem to wake up after this jump, and a few select kids do. And that is where the story really kicks in, because Beth, our protagonist, has to take over the spaceship and go through uncharted territory. There's different kind of species out in space and an artificial intelligence that kind of guides the children, but can this artificial intelligence be trusted? Who knows? So this is a fantastic sci-fi story and one of the first middle grade sci-fis I read. But if you love the sort of space exploration, then Orion Lost is definitely the one for you. So if you love Coraline by Studio Laker, which is in turn based on Coraline by Neil Gaiman, then you will love A Place Called Perfect by Helena Duggan. Everybody compares this to Coraline, so this is an original to me. But I definitely agree with the comparisons. This is a very atmospheric middle grade, and it follows Violet, who moves to a new town called Perfect, and it's far from perfect. There are people who wear glasses because their eyesight goes, and the townsfolk are a little strange and bizarre. There's this mysterious boy called Boy, and with Violet having moved there with her parents kind of succumb to this town, and Violet has to be the one to save the day. But this is the first in a trilogy, so not everything is solved in this book. There are flowers with eyeballs and lots of different kind of weird imagery in this that I think is very Coraline-esque. So if you do love yourself a bit of Coraline and that kind of atmosphere, then this one is perfect for you. So if you love Kubo and the Two Strings by Studio Laker, or any Studio Ghibli movie that is really whimsical and magical, then I think you will absolutely love, and this is one of my most recent favourites of all time, and that is Where the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lin. Oh, I fell head over heels in love with this story. I cannot tell you. This has the storytelling of a Studio Ghibli movie. It's told in a very fairy tale-esque way. So this follows Binley, and her family is very poor, and she is told these wonderful stories about the Jade Dragon and the Man of the Moon by her father, and it gives her ideas that she will be able to leave home after the advice of a token goldfish, goes on an adventure to find this Man of the Moon. And on her journey, she comes across a dragon who can't fly. She comes across different sort of villages and people within the villages and kings and tigers and so many amazing wonderful things that I think a lot of people love in Studio Ghibli movies, for example. You know, the really weird and wonderful things. And the prose in this, Grace Lin does a fantastic, incredible job of making it sound so fairy tale-like. Grace Lin was inspired by so much Chinese mythology that she made a lot of it up herself, but she does take a lot of inspiration from a lot of different stories that are told throughout the years, and does this wonderful job of putting it all together and having this beautiful story. Yeah, so if you love Studio Ghibli or Kubo and the Two Strings, which I do love, that is such an underrated movie, then I think you will love Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. So if you love Frozen or Frozen 2, then you will love Frostheart by Jamie Littler, or as it's called in America, Voyage of the Frostheart. A lot of people know that Frostheart is my favourite middle grade of all time, and I absolutely love it, and I will always recommend it whenever possible. If you love Frozen, if you love the world of Frozen, and you love the characters of Frozen, such as Elsa, who has these ice powers that are eating her up and she's not allowed to reveal them. We have Ash in Frostheart, and he has this ability to song weave, so he is able to speak to these monsters called Leviathans, and these Leviathans live in the Snow Sea, and the Snow Sea is covering Earth. It's kind of a bit of a post-apocalyptic kind of world where everything is separated by the Snow Sea. People live in strongholds, and Ash lives in the Fire stronghold. So in this world as well, there are pathfinders, and they are crews of people who are on these snow sleighs that go from stronghold to stronghold. They look for new paths and things to kind of be safe from these Leviathans. And one day, the crew of the Frostheart comes to the Fire stronghold where Ash lives and are attacked by Leviathans. Ash accidentally unleashes his powers, and because of that he is kicked from home because they are scared that because Ash can talk to these Leviathans that he will be able to control them and they will be able to control him. So Ash, along with Tobu, who is his Yeti guardian, they join the crew of the Frostheart on this adventure to find Ash's missing parents. Yeah, I think you will absolutely love it if you love Frozen. If you love the heartbreaking film My Girl, then you will absolutely love The Line Tender by Kate Allen. Desi from Pastel Pages made this comparison and I have not been able to stop thinking about it since, and she is so right. This has all of the My Girl vibes. So Lucy loses her mother when she is 8 years old. Her mother was a marine biologist and Lucy is kind of following in her footsteps. So this is pretty much a sort of coming of age story for Lucy. She is growing up and another tragedy happens and it's so emotional. This got me really teared up. But this is a beautiful middle grade, I think on a bit of the older spectrum of middle grade, that explores grief, and it's so beautifully told. You know, anxiety is explored, but it's told in a really beautiful way that I think only middle grade can do. You also do learn a lot about sharks, and I know there's not any sharks in My Girl or anything, but it still has those really kind of summary My Girl vibes, but also with some heartbreak and tragedy in there as well, you know, just for good measure. If you love the musical Les Miserables, maybe you've only seen the movie adaptation like me, which is of course inspired by Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, then you will love A Wish in the Dark by Christina Soontornvat. I read this one recently and really enjoyed it. It is described as a bit of a Les Miserables retelling. I didn't quite see it at first, but I absolutely did after a little while. So this follows a young boy who was born in a prison, and just because he was born in a prison, he is kept there, he's growing up, and he really wants to escape this prison. And one day he manages to escape, and because of his escape, it has a knock-on effect on the prison warden's daughter, Nock, because the prison warden is sort of to blame. So Nock goes after Pong, who was the person who escaped, to bring him back so that she can restore her family name. So the two main characters in this are definitely like Evaljean and Javier. I think I've said the names right. So it's kind of like the cat and mouse chase between the escapee and the person who is trying to bring that escapee back. But it's told in a middle grade way. But it is set in this Thai setting and it is absolutely gorgeous, absolutely stunning. So yeah, if you love Les Miserables, this one will be a perfect one for you. A book that I think gives me really strong How to Train Your Dragon vibes, and of course, you know, the DreamWorks series that I absolutely love, then I think you will really enjoy A Darkness of Dragons by S.A. Patrick. This is the first book in the Songs of Magic series, and I am dying for the second one. I need it. It's been a couple of years now since this came out, and I really want the second book so bad. This is set in a world where people learn to become Pied Pipers, and we follow 12-year-old Patch, who is hired by this village to get rid of rats, and he uses a forbidden spell to do so, so he is jailed for it. But it's the same jail that the feared Pied Piper of Hamelin is being kept. And of course the Pied Piper of Hamelin is the very feared piper who kidnapped all those children. So Patch ends up befriending a rat who is actually a girl under a curse, and a Dracogryph. And as they escape jail, so does the Pied Piper of Hamelin. And it goes through their adventure filled with sorcerers and dragons, and it's one of those ones that has really stuck with me because I didn't expect it to be as great as it was. There's also a little bit of a Beauty and the Beast kind of thing in this as well, so if you like Beauty and the Beast, there's moments in this that reminded me of that, but definitely strong How to Train Your Dragon vibes. Okay, so the last movie and book comparison I want to talk about is The Goonies. Now, I put out a tweet asking what you guys wanted me to recommend, and a lot of people wanted something similar to The Goonies. Now, I don't really know of any that's truly like The Goonies. There is a couple that I think is very reminiscent of elements in The Goonies, and they're both a little bit of a stretch, but hear me out. So the first one is Malamander and Gargantus by Thomas Taylor. More so Gargantus, not really Malamander, but you'd have to read Malamander to read Gargantus. Now there are definitely moments in Gargantus that was very Goonies-like. Yeah, Malamander is set on Erie-on-Sea, which is a seaside village, and we follow Herbert Lemon, who works as a lost and finder at the Nautilus Hotel, and he has to find lost things. One day a lost girl comes to him called Violet Palmer, and she needs to find her missing parents, and there is this legendary Malamander, and in the second one there is the legendary Gargantus that lives in the sea. So it's not really like The Goonies, but there are elements in the second book that is very Goonies-like. There is a lot of seafaring in the second one, there's hidden caves, so it's quite like Goonies in that sense. But also a pinch of magic, but more specifically a sprinkle of sorcery by Michelle Harrison. Definitely this one, but you need to read A Pinch of Magic first, because this book follows 3 Widdershins sisters who are cursed and they have 3 magical objects. So in this one of the sisters is kidnapped and the other 2 sisters have to go after after her, they go on this boat and they come across an island, and the adventure in this is very Goonies-esque because there are sea pirates and treasure and sunken ships and a really magical island. Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch, but I haven't really read anything that was like the Goonies. Even I really love the Goonies as well. It's one of my favourite films of all time, so I would love to know of any middle grades that are like the Goonies, so if you have any suggestions, please let me know. I do know that Chris Columbus actually wrote the screenplay for the Goonies, and he also wrote House of Secrets with Ned Vizzini, and this is the first book in the House of Secrets series. I haven't read this one yet, but Chris Columbus did say that this is like a cousin to the Goonies. You know, this is about three friends who accidentally unleash this curse, and they have to fight pirates and warriors and giants and witches. So I haven't read it yet, but I really want to. But Chris Columbus did say that this is like a cousin to the Goonies. So if anything is going to be like the Goonies, it's most likely going to be something that was written by the person who wrote the screenplay for the Goonies. Maybe this one. If you've read this one, please let me know. Oh, the Goonies though, what a film. So if you have any more, please let me know in the comments below. I would absolutely love to know, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope you took some things from it, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!